Thanks for watching us here today. My name is Frank Calderon. I am I'm Special Projects Administrator 1 for Miami-Dade County, and for specifically the Miami-Dade County Department of Solid Waste Management, which is what we talk about on this show. And well, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today, and we have a very, very, very special guest here today, Mr. Nick Ciancio. He is our Resilience Division Director for the Miami-Dade County Department of Solid Waste Management. Nick, welcome, and thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Frank. It's fun to be here. Second time on Community News.
Yep, there we go. All right. So, zero waste has been the topic of, I don't know, the day, the hour, the month, the year. Let's start by you telling us what exactly zero waste means.
Yeah. So when people first hear zero waste, sometimes it can seem a little confusing, right? Zero means nothing, right? And waste is waste. So a lot of people think when they hear zero waste, it means no waste is generated at all whatsoever, at anywhere, anytime, from anything. But zero waste is really just the aspirational goal that the county has of diverting as much waste as possible from being disposed and instead treating it as a resource, right? Are there opportunities to recycle, right? So building on existing programs that we have, but could we potentially compost? Could we reuse? I think just about everybody knows the 3 R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. But zero waste adds a couple extra R's. So really rethinking and redesigning for allowing us to generate as little waste as possible. That's the goal with zero waste. And from there, it's how do we go from generating a little bit of waste, and of the waste that is generated, how can we repurpose it, recycle it, compost it, or what have you?
That's something a lot of people don't realize. They think of waste as just get it out of here and, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
They don't realize that there's a lot that can be done with it, and it's a resource, as you said.
It is a resource.
Using the letter R once again, it's a resource.
It is a resource, and a lot of people think when they throw something in their green cart, right, it's different than their blue cart. We have a lot of people who doubt the recycling program, which, we've talked before, they shouldn't, right? It goes to a recycling processing facility.
We've been there. I haven't been to the new one yet, but
you should.
And I should. But you've been there a few times to the new one.
Yes.
And you can actually see that they're actually taking the stuff, baling it, shipping it out, selling it to people who make new things out of the material. That's
right. But the reason I bring it up is a lot of people ask, well, where does it go? Where do the recyclables go when they put it in their blue cart? But very few people ask what happens when they put something in their green cart, right? It's just, it goes away. But really, it's going to a transfer station, it goes to a landfill, and all of those have capacities, right? Landfills take up space, and you can only put so much stuff in a landfill before you find yourself in a predicament. So this zero waste master plan helps us figure out how can we avoid some of the problems that we've had to face.
Landfills, and this is why we have engineers who work for us, and people don't realize this. Landfills are engineered. It is a physics problem. There is only so much capacity.
Yes.
That a landfill can take before that's it. It's full.
That's true. So a physics problem, a chemistry problem, and biology.
Yeah. And biology. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
All right. So now I've been with the county quite a long time, and I've heard talk about zero waste for a number of years now. But now we're actually beginning to see some movement towards this goal. A large part of that was our mayor, Daniela Levine Cava, and I believe it's one of the reasons you actually came here to the county. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think it's first, always important to level set on what zero waste means, right? We're talking about reducing and reusing, and so to your point, you've heard it recently, right? And this is most definitely the mayor's initiative. She started this in 2022, but sometimes it's important to reflect on existing practices that support zero waste goals. So I remember, I'm Italian, Italian American, and I remember growing up, my great grandmother, she would have these tins of cookies, and I used to get really excited when I'd see them around the house, and I'd go and I'd open it up.
Oh yeah, those Danish butter cookies.
Danish butter cookies, and lo and behold, never a Danish butter cookie to be found. always
Used for storage.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So, and since coming to Miami, I've learned that that's not exclusively an Italian American thing, right? But yes, so the county has been working on zero waste initiatives for a number of years. We've had a recycling program since 1990 with dual stream in 2008. We collect yard debris and mulch it. But like I mentioned earlier, the mayor, when she became mayor, right, she really started to focus in on waste diversion and build off of the work that she did as commissioner with banning styrofoam from parks and public property, and encouraged and challenged the environmental groups to say, hey, come to the county, help us figure out what zero waste means to you, and help guide what this could mean for the county. And based off of that, a request for proposal was generated for zero waste. I joined the county in 2024, but I'm originally from South Florida, born and raised in Palm Beach County, and prior to coming to the county, I worked in Alabama for 11 years. Waste has always been something, near and dear to me. I feel like the gateway to caring about waste is recycling, almost always. So I remember being really young and sorting certain things into certain bins, and from there started to care more and more about waste as a resource. And then you learn about composting and reusing and things like that, and you really start to care about waste and realize that it really isn't waste. And when I was working in a research lab, I remember just how much waste I was generating. Pipette tips, the little tips that you use for getting liquids in certain areas,
and those have to be sterile, I guess.
They have to be sterile
because you don't want to get the wrong compound or the wrong whatever.
That's right. They have to be sterile, and because
basically they're single use.
That's right. Now you could make them usable, but that's generally not what they do, and they're generally plastic. And so I remember easily going through 100 of those a day. Wow. And I spoke to some people in my lab. I said, this is so wasteful, isn't there something we can do? And I remember my supervisor in the lab said, well, this is how we've always done it, so this is just how it is. And I really didn't jive with
always
that.
like a chip on the shoulder type of challenge. This is how we've always done it. Well, why not do it differently?
Right. I mean, someone probably said that about the horse and buggy when the car came around, right? And from there, I was able to get a career in sustainability. This opportunity came up where they were hiring for the county, and I remember reading that the goal was to implement a zero waste master plan and really identify waste diversion efforts. And I mean, I call South Florida home. It aligned with my values, and I said, yeah, I got to take this. I got to take this opportunity.
Great. So, all right. So, yeah, speaking of the zero waste master plan and getting into the next question, I may upset some folks here. I guess that was kind of like having a baby. I always joke with our employee newsletter that it's like the closest I'll ever come to giving birth type of thing. But anyway, so
and you do that quarterly, right?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah.
So 4 times a year.
Very short gestation period, I guess. So, all right. So now let's get into the nitty gritty here on the Zero Waste Master Plan. We very, very recently, so recent, in fact, that it was just a few days ago.
Yes.
This past Friday, we unveiled the county's first ever Zero Waste Master Plan, which we call the ZWMP for short. Well, tell us a little bit about how that came to pass.
Yes. So like I mentioned, it really started in 2022. We developed a request for proposal in 2024. We awarded a consultant in early 2025. And, there's this adage, in just about every industry, right? Whether it's and in life, whether it's your work life, your personal life, and that's you can't manage what you don't measure, right? So the first thing we did as part of the Zero Waste Master Plan was we measured our waste. Now, some people might hear that and think, oh, or were you not measuring your waste before? We were, right? We knew how many tons we were getting, but we didn't necessarily know what percentage was plastic or recycled plastic or aluminum. And we had done waste characterization studies and things like that, but we really wanted to expand that beyond what we had done in the past. So we figured out what was in our waste stream, how much of it was in our waste stream. And from there, we looked back at the goal, right, of how do we generate less waste, and of the waste we generate, what can be reduced, repurposed, recycled, composted, what have you. So from there, we said, okay, this is what's in our waste. This is the percentage that's compostable. This is the percentage that's recyclable. This is the percentage that's neither, but could maybe be replaced with reusables. And we developed 31 different strategies to help address those waste streams. And, you know, it's important to note that this plan was, you know, although it was spearheaded by the mayor, it wasn't written for the mayor or by the mayor. It wasn't written for the county or by the county or even for the consultant or by the consultant. It was written for the community and largely by the community, because after we identified those 31 strategies, we engaged a whole bunch of people through public stakeholder and public outreach events. So we held about a dozen workshops, you know, averaged 25 people per workshop, which is pretty good attendance, you know, when you consider that 10 of them were held in person. You have to go to these places after work, provide input on what you want waste to be, how you want waste to be managed in Miami-Dade County.
I remember going to a few of them.
Yeah, and people were really excited.
And even the virtual ones.
Yes, the virtual ones were well attended too. And if you weren't able to attend those, we held tabling events, listening sessions, focus groups. We had a survey
online. That's online is 24/7, and that was the whole period. That wasn't, you know.
Yep. 24/7. I'd like to say 365, but really the engagement was 10 months, but right? Exactly. Close to, you know, 24/7, 300.
There you go.
And it was in all three languages, you know, English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. And we really got an idea, dare I say, one of the most comprehensive understandings of how people interact with waste in Miami-Dade County than we probably have ever had, which is good, because it allows us to figure out not only how people are managing their waste today, but how they want to manage it tomorrow. And it was really, really helpful to see and hear what people wanted to see in their community, because although we always say people do look at their waste and say, yeah, it's just going away. Some folks do have opinions on how they want their waste to be managed, and it's important to get that feedback. And that feedback helped develop this plan, which is now on our website.
And one of the things too with feedback is it makes the plan more workable, because now you're hearing how people say, well, we should do this or that. But hopefully one would think that when they come back to you with feedback, that it's something that they have done themselves or something they know they're capable of doing,
right?
Which makes it easier to implement when you start actually getting the plan out there. Which, as you mentioned, by the way, it's online, miamidade.gov/zero waste. We have there's several actually PDF files.
Yes,
but it's all online, so you can if you're watching today, or if you're watching in the future, when, you know, after this has been recorded and has been posted online, by all means visit and you can see it for yourself.
Yeah.
miamidade.gov/zero waste.
And if you have feedback, you can always email zerowaste@miamidade.gov.
We'll still take feedback. You know, as the plan goes, I imagine there'll be some tweaks.
Probably.
So, all right. Good. That's good to know. All right. So the event, like we mentioned, was it was a very big event. A lot of news coverage. A lot of people who were interested. People who went to the workshops.
Yeah.
Came to see the unveiling. So tell us a little bit about the event itself.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we unveiled it on Friday. Today's Monday, so it was literally the last business day. And
last business day of July 31st. So for perspective,
yes, that's right. A lot of people were really excited. It was great to see just how energized everybody was, from the people that attended the workshops, like you mentioned, but even people that just so happened to hear about it from a survey, right? And they wanted to stay involved and stay informed, and they said, I'm going to go to this. So we invited all of our municipal partners. We invited stakeholders from the business community, from the nonprofit community, environmental organizations. It was open to the public. So we think that we had around 200 plus people. It ended up being standing room only. We partnered with the Greater Miami Convention Visitors Bureau, GMCVB. They're actually going to be helping us implement components of the Zero Waste Master Plan that apply to the hospitality industry, which is really exciting.
That's called the Green Key program, right?
Yes, the Green Key program. So it's a sustainability recognition program that hotels can pursue. It has a waste component, so we're trying to figure out how we can collaborate with them. And we had so many people, but I think, that's largely in part because of just how many people were excited about the plan, but it also took a lot of effort, right? So, public information and outreach did a fantastic job. That's the department that Frank works in, for those
my
that
job was
don't
to
know.
nag the heck out of people and get them to come. No, just kidding.
No, to make sure they RSVP'd. The mayor's office was integral in helping us, get people to be informed about the event, and help show up and illustrate just how much of a priority it was, particularly their communications team. They were very helpful. And I think that, again, people are just really excited to see this plan now be implemented, right? And the mayor and our director both stated that a plan is just something that you have in paper until you begin to implement it. So although we're very excited about the event on Friday, I think it's now we need to
look forward.
Exactly, and maintain that momentum.
And I'll add a little plug here for Community Newspapers, who was kind enough to let us host this show. Grant Miller from Community Newspapers was there also for coverage. We had different media, but he was one of the guys that was there, and he already posted his video up. Like his video was one of the first ones up on YouTube. I think I think it was Friday evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was good. All right. So yeah, earlier I was talking about the nitty gritty.
Yes.
But I guess it's time to actually get into the nitty gritty of the plan, since we're talking about implementing, and let people know, some of the highlights, some of the features, some of the things residents can expect to see in the near future, and all, maybe also in the longer term, but the near future, particularly some of the things people can expect to start seeing soon.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, it's a plan that has 31 different strategies, and like all plans, it's generally going to be a fairly linear strategy, right? You can't plan to do 31 things simultaneously, right?
Although some days feel like we're asked to do 31 things simultaneously, but anyway, right. I digress.
And so if you do 31 things simultaneously, that can be pretty chaotic, and we don't want this plan or its implementation to be chaotic. We want to make sure that it accommodates what the community needs and what the community wants. So the 31 strategies are divided into 3 different categories. There's policies, programs, and then infrastructure. But then there are 3 different timelines as well. There are short-term strategies, medium-term strategies, and long-term strategies. The plan itself is a 13-year roadmap, so has us wrapping up around 2040, with the short-term policies, programs, and infrastructure being 0 to 4 years. So what could we start to see in the short term? It can look like expanded recycling opportunities, so adding new things to our existing recycling programs, adding new drop-off materials.
And we've been doing some of that already. So
We
some
have.
that's already
That's
talk about hitting the ground running.
Absolutely. My favorite phrase while we've been working on this plan is that we've been building the plane as we're flying it. And we continue to.
Good as a metaphor, but not realist. Not or at least not something you want to do literally.
This is very true. This is very true. I would never want to
literally do it.
Yeah.
No.
So working on trying to figure out what new materials can be recycled, evaluating how we could add potentially a third cart. So that way, instead of having just a cart for garbage and recycling, there could be a cart for organics, like for yard debris or for food scraps.
I should note, sorry to jump in, that for those who, at least for recycling, for those who really do a lot of recycling, you can call 311 and they'll send you another cart for free.
Yep.
A recycling cart for no extra charge, or you can ask for your current recycling cart for the bigger size, because the default size was the medium size. You can ask for the larger size if you need it. So
that's completely right. In a lot of areas they have space constraints. So some people might think, oh well, I don't really have the ability to get a second 65-gallon cart, but that 96-gallon only takes up a little bit more space than the 65, and it can really go a long way. So I think you're right. If you find yourself throwing away a lot of recyclables, you can always ask for that extra 96-gallon cart, and it goes a long way. And really, every item that we can keep out of the landfill contributes to not only this plan, but it also contributes to preserving our landfill space. Now, you mentioned, we've hit the ground running. There are certain things that we were already starting to work on. So speaking of recycling, one area that has been of particular interest for our community is messaging on recycling. So a lot of the times, whether it was just from engaging people in the Zero Waste Master Plan or just talking to them about recycling when we've been tabling, they've told us that some communities say certain things are recyclable, whereas Miami-Dade County says certain materials are not. We're actually working throughout the county to make sure that we're all messaging that the same items are recyclable, since they really all go to one of two facilities. So now, as of today, or really as of last week, about 4 out of 5 households can now recycle the same materials that we recycle. We're working on getting that to 5 out of 5, awesome. But that's gonna take some time.
That's good. That's and that creates a certain synergy. That way, everybody, all the communities, all the municipalities are all telling people the same message, and they can piggyback off of our message, which goes countywide. Which, unfortunately, in the past, for example, if you lived in a city that had its own recycling program, not related to the counties, and your materials were different, but you were getting our messages because you were Miami-Dade County, and you left scratching. I thought I couldn't recycle that.
Right.
Now, if everybody's recycling the same materials, that's great.
Right. And when people scratch their head, they start to really question the program as a whole. Right. So this not only makes sure that we're keeping as many things out of the landfill as possible, but it hopefully really builds confidence in people that when they put something in the blue card, it's getting recycled.
Which reminds me, lately we had some good news on our recycling program that the contamination rate has gone down.
It has. It's now at 36.5%. So, we still need to bring that number down as much as we can, but
it's moving in the right direction.
We're moving in the right direction.
Great. All right. We're almost at the end of our time. Tell us just a little bit. You've kind of already told us, but tell us a little bit, if you can do it a little quickly, of why is zero waste a good thing?
Zero waste is a good thing because it helps preserve the landfill space that we already have, right? We need to make sure that we're making the life of our landfill last as long as we can. It helps our local economy by providing new jobs. It helps our local economy by developing new markets. It's beneficial to the environment because we're taking something that has historically been considered a waste and we're using it as a resource, which means we're not having to use new materials to make new materials. We're getting to use existing materials.
And in a lot of cases, when you recycle materials, a lot of people don't realize this. It's simpler, faster than taking raw material and making something new, and it uses less resources.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So there are many reasons why it's good to, promote a lower waste lifestyle and to hopefully start to make behavior changes that align with the zero waste master plan.
Great. Well, before we go, it's almost time for us to go. But before we go, just a reminder, folks, visit the Zero Waste Master Plan website, the Zero Waste website for Miami-Dade County, miamidade.gov/zero waste. And it's the word zero spelled out, no hyphens, no underscores, just straight like you see on the bottom of the screen there. You can also join us on our social media channels to find out more. We are at Miami-Dade Solid Waste, all one word, no hyphen, on Facebook and Instagram, and on X, formerly Twitter, we are Miami-Dade SWM for Solid Waste Management. Nick, thanks for being here. Thanks for being our guest today, and talking about zero waste, which I know you're very passionate about. So that makes it easy.
Yes.
And this time, I promise everybody, the last few shows, I keep saying that I'm going to try to remember that saying about the Disney rule. I got it right this time. I actually saw a YouTube video on it. So I leave you with the Disney rule, modified slightly to fit the format of this program. Hug your friend until they let go. Until next time.